Let's bring in commentator and published author Dan Perry, who joins us once again from his apartment in Tel Aviv. Dan, good morning to you, or I guess good afternoon where you are. We spoke to you just about 48 hours ago. To start things off, your top line thoughts on what's changed in that time and the fact that we're now in day 6 of warfare.
Clearly, the main issue right now is for many people, even though it's probably unspoken, is to ensure the release of the hostages, which may not be so simple. Look, all I can say is that in the wake of this vile massacre, the biggest one-day murder of Jews since the Holocaust, Israel has clearly run out of all patience with Hamas. And there is consensus in public opinion, which there wasn't before, that they must not be allowed to rule Gaza anymore, which, by the way, would be doing the biggest favor to the poor 2 million Gazans who must live under the boot of fundamentalist mafia. But I don't think they will necessarily rush into a ground operation. They're going to want to minimize the cost both to the lives of Israeli soldiers and also Gaza civilians. And that may mean a long period of prep work and quite possibly action to compel the population to temporarily move south from Gaza City. Yeah. So it's going to be difficult. I think they're going to try to make it surgical and clever and different from what we've seen before. So I think all of us in the studios, as well as on the ground, need to have patience.
And to compound just off what you're saying here, when we had you on a couple days ago, you had talked about what you called the need for Israel to go into Gaza and root out Hamas. And now that it does appear that Israel is amassing these forces on the border with Gaza in anticipation of a ground invasion, what's the general consensus among Israelis and Jews? Like, do they think that kind of invasion is the best and necessary response?
Well, this is what I meant to say before. I never did call for a ground invasion. I am saying that there is consensus now, or close to consensus, that Hamas cannot be tolerated anymore in Gaza. There was a sense in Israel, very much in the circles of the ruling right-wing coalition, that having Hamas in Gaza is somehow acceptable and even desirable because it divides the Palestinians and weakens the more moderate Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. That's now out the window. Clearly, it's simply not acceptable. But I wouldn't say that there is a clamor for a ground invasion today. That would be a ham-fisted way to go about this. That could be walking into a trap that Hamas has set, because they're not stupid. They may be, vile, but they did anticipate, I'm sure, that there would be calls for a ground invasion. So I imagine booby traps everywhere. They're hiding in tunnels. They probably would relish the thought of this nihilistic end of days battle in the streets of Gaza. So I think Israel's going to try to be more clever. Whether or not it eventually does lead to ground invasion is an open question. And in fact, the answer is probably yes. But right now, I think the pressure is on I think there's a desire, there's a willingness, let me put it this way, to pressure the population, to pressure Hamas to release the hostages. Yeah. I think there's no better way to put it, really.
And at this point, day 6, I mean, is there any end in sight here on the horizon? I think that's top of mind for a lot of people. And what does that actually take in the end? What would that look like to bring this to a close?
I think the end is not in sight. And I think we're in for a long battle of nerves here. There will ultimately come pressure on Israel as time passes to stop the blockade of Gaza, to stop the bombardments, because there is collateral damage. The question is for how long the world actually remembers the images of what went down here with the rapes and people burned and babies dismembered. And it was ridiculous. And the response to it may not be so pretty. And the question is how much latitude the world gives Israel to do what I think many people understand is necessary, including in the Arab world, which is to end Hamas rule over Gaza.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.